as far as the University of Ilorin is concerned, we are strong in the areas of engineering, medicine, law, vet medicine, social sciences, and because we are 16 faculties as we speak. And in the annals of university education in Nigeria, we have been adjudged as the most sought after university in Nigeria by JAMB in the last 5 to 7 years. The Nigerian educational sector has keyed into the global scheme of education, that is, with the triple mandate of teaching, research, and community service. And as you said, the areas that our government is emphasizing today is entrepreneurship. And it is important for us to underscore the point that most universities now have entrepreneurship centers. In fact, we are scaling up in most universities into creation of innovation hubs where the entrepreneurial skills of these young minds will be encouraged in such a way that they give them startup funding. And as we speak, TED Fund is also trying to support this kind of idea in our universities. So globally, the Nigerian education sector is indeed on the way to that El Dorado, if I may call it like that. The truth is that education is expected to be the job of all at the level of the parents, at the level of the teachers, at the level of the government, in such a way that every sector that I've just mentioned will contribute either financially or morally into the development of education for the purpose of servicing the developmental process of the Nigerian state. So it's important for me to say that yes, TED Fund is doing its best, the Nigerian government is doing its best, but the truth is that the industries, the corporate world will have to do more to push education to that level that we want education to be in Nigeria. It is important for me to emphasize and underscore the point that what is referred to as internally generated revenue by universities is actually charges for some services that the universities have to provide. For instance, we charge for utilities, we charge for internet, we charge for hostel, we charge for learning management schemes. These things we have charged for, we must provide. In providing it, it's not about us making money because it is not expected to be a revenue generating center. I don't know what operates in other places, but I can say that in University of Ilorin, part of this internally generated revenue, for lack of any other nomenclature for it, are also used for some capital projects. Because at the end of the day, what is the use of a university if you cannot have a laboratory? And if we now say, oh, we are able to raise 10 million and our students need a laboratory worth about 2 million, why can't we provide in order to ensure that the products that are dishing to the world actually meets the minimum standard? So I know that in the University of Ilorin, part of this are used for such capital projects, because in our own budget we have part of it that is part of the entire IGR that is devoted to capital projects. And I would invite you to visit our university one of these days, and I can point this particular structure was internally generated. This was particularly then, and as we speak, we are almost concluding the construction of our liaison office in Abuja, which is 100% internally generated revenue driven. The TED Fund as an institution has identified some budget lines, intervention lines. I think that's the appropriate. For instance, they have what they call annual intervention, which goes to all universities. And you know that the law of the TED Fund has also clearly determined their mode of operation in such that, yes, you have equitable distribution of this fund, as well as equally distributed portion. That is, all universities would have two, they call it 2-1-1. That is two double of what College of Education and technological institutions will take is what the universities will take. Then 1-1, and they also scale it up to now determine the geopolitical zones. Therefore, in the whatever comes to North Central, will go to Northeast, will go to Northwest, will go to Southeast, will go to Southwest, will go to South on the basis of equality. But there are some critical interventions that they call special intervention fund. That is determined, and I think what that by needs. And of course, the leadership of TED Fund also identify what areas they want to actually intervene in. And of course, we have what they call there are two lines for research, which is also the National Research Funding and what they call the IBR. So essentially, their intervention has significantly assisted university education either in research or capital infrastructural development so far. And I believe that, yes, the way the fund is intervening has assisted, but I think there may be one or two things that they could do much better and different. I commend TED Fund to say, well, if we give you for 2017, 2018, you have not been able to deliver on it, why do you have to assess 2019, 2020? It is important for the monitoring and evaluation unit of TED Fund to be more proactive, because I think it's all about project management, which itself is a skill. And I want to suggest that TED Fund should design a training platform for project management for these universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education to have an idea of how they need to manage their projects and deliver so that the assessment will not be that problematic. I also do not know about other universities, but at least as far as infrastructure intervention is concerned, the University of Ilorin is assessing the 2023 intervention now. We started the private-public partnership way back in 1996 or thereabout. And today, I can tell you that we have about 10,000 bed spaces that have been provided by these private hostel owners for the use of our students. So it's something that is running and working efficiently and effectively. And I can also confirm that even today, as we speak, we have about 3 or 4 of such projects on ground. We are working on a PPP even for farm.
For settlement or farm, university farm that is meant for agriculture.
No, it is essentially commercial, because we want to actually add value to the kind of farming that they are doing. What that will do for us is that it will provide skill for our students. 2, it will also expose them to modern farming. We are not now limiting this exposure to those studying agriculture alone. We want to expose it because that is the future of Nigeria. the food security is a fundamental issue that the Nigerian state is focusing on, and which University of Ilorin is trying to key into. We have what we call Technical Entrepreneurship Center with modern facilities. For instance, we have an embroidery machine in our university that we have only 3 in the whole of Nigeria, and one of them is in University of Ilorin, just to show up to demonstrate that this skill acquisition is important to us. And what we also do is to make this skill acquisition compulsory, but we are not just acquiring skill, we are trying hands-on, and that's why I just told you that we are also trying to create what we call innovation hub, so that at the end of the day, it's not just a matter of theoretical training of these students, but for them to also try their hands on what they are doing. For instance, the paints that are being used on our campus is produced by that center. We have ties that have been provided by them. We have cufflinks, we have flappers that have been provided, and we sell. In fact, in the days of COVID, we provided sanitizers, which was sold at commercial quantity to the university and even the entire community. Our university is driven by planning and thinking. For instance, we are just concluding on the 2023 strategic plan, and 2023-2027 strategic plan is already on board, which will tag shortly to the space, because beyond the frontiers was what we just concluded. We now want to, that beyond the frontier, outside of the frontier is the space. So because we are driven by plans, our own is already keying into the roadmap that the Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Maman SAN, is putting in place. And we are part of the meeting that the minister held yesterday with strategic stakeholders, where the implementation strategies were identified by the Honorable Minister and the stakeholders for the development of education in Nigeria. Our view is that, God willing, the roadmap that the minister is putting in place will be properly implemented, and of course, it will dovetail into the kind of development that we are envisaging. Thank you. Let me say, as a background, that the Nigerian state is a democratic state, and therefore electoral processes are normally do election. If you are satisfied, congratulate, move on. If you are not satisfied, you have the option of going to the tribunal, and so that's the general thing. But it's important for me to also call attention and underscore the point that it is important for the political class to appreciate the fact that at any point in time, if there's a contest, one person must win, one person must lose. And if you win this time, good, do your best and move on. If you lose this time, wait, the next 4 years is just around the corner. But it is also imperative to call attention to the fact that whoever now decides to challenge the result is also exercising his or her constitutional right as provided by the Constitution and the Electoral Act. So for me, there's no problem about that. But it's also important to emphasize and call attention of the political class to the fact that it is not every time that you think you have won or you are winning, because you win some, you lose some. Sincerely, there is no alarm as far as I'm concerned as a lawyer. The alarm is only determined by the political class and, of course, people that are ruled by sentiments and prejudices. For me, whether we like it or not, the court process is different from the ordinary process. And why I say this is because what transpires in courtrooms is different from what transpires outside of the courtroom. A court decides a matter as presented by the parties. Even if you have knowledge of something that is happening outside of the courtroom, as a judge, you cannot use that to determine the case. For instance, I was there when A slapped B. As a judge, that will not be the basis for my decision. My decision will have to be based on what is presented within the confines of the court before me as a judge. But the problem we have,
the prayers of possibly
the litigant. But unfortunately, people will present A, B, C, D, and they expect X result. Whereas in normal thing, 1 plus 2 plus 3, it should be equal to 4. But if you now go to court and present 1 plus 2 means 3, and you expect that you will still get the same result. So that's what I think has been happening. Litigants will go to court for electoral issues, and we fail to present their cases before the court, but they expect that the court will still rule in their favor after all, because a lot of noise has been made in the media, and people have galvanized the social media to reach a particular end. But at the end of the day, the court will look at the facts and decide one way or the other. So when the court decides, quote and unquote, unfavorable to a particular segment of individuals, they think, oh, this court has been compromised. For me, yes, courts may be compromised, but you will discover that it is what I call the black dot theory in one of my researches. What is black dot theory? You have a wide white blank sheet and a small black dot. That is what people will be saying. More than 95-96% of the judges we have today are integrity driven. They are people of substance in terms of their capacity. They are people that you can rely on. But unfortunately, here we are in this country. They cannot be an island unto themselves, and they can only determine what is brought before them.
Nigerian justice system.
I think it's just an evolution. We will eventually get there. All these places that we are referencing also went through all these troubles in their own developmental process. The truth is that, yes, we have not gotten to where we want to be, but we are on the track to getting there. So for me, our colleagues in other climes, Europe, America, Asia, they have also, they are doing their best. And as lawyers in Nigeria, we also rank, because go to international bar association conferences, you discover that more than 50-60% of participants are from Nigeria.
Really?
Yes.
Why is that so?
Because at the end of the day, it shows, one, our population, two, the value that they place on the Nigerian lawyers for that kind of engagements.
Then looking back to the education sector.
Thank you. I want to see the University of Ilorin as number 1 in Nigeria. I want to see us as number 1 in Nigeria. I want us to rank between the first 5 in Africa. And I want to see how we can ensure that we rank between 1 and 100 in the world. What that will do for us is that, one, we'll scale up the learning processes. 2, we will also need to invest more in our education in terms of the funding, in terms of facilities, in terms of autonomy for the university system. Because the stage we are today is nothing to write home about. And earlier we pull the university system from the normal bureaucratic processes of the public service, the better for our university. Because at the end of the day, people will come for sabbatical from US, from America, from UK and not the rest in Nigeria. And Nigerian professors will also, and the faculty members will also go into those places, because that's the only way we can collaborate. As we speak now, we have more than 25, 30 memorandum of understanding with universities across the world in our university. And in as we speak, all the researches that we collaborate to do had been appropriately captured in various journals and outlets.
But the concern about Nigerian universities?
Well, we are different. One, in respect, because we have what we call laptop, that is laboratory to product. So for now, what we do is to ensure that we do not just do research for research's sake. We embark on impact-driven researches. In fact, this session, we have devoted about 100 million of our funding to researches that will impact on the communities that such researches are being conducted. We are focusing on sustainable development goals approaches in such a way that the SDG will be realized within the context of its operations in Nigeria. We hope that by the time the roadmap is properly implemented, we will see a complete and all-round product from the various universities. That is, a student that is not only certified in character and learning, but with skills that can assist in the development of our country. We also hope to see a university or a tertiary institution that is moving from the approach of teacher-student to facilitator-learner in our various institutions. We also are hoping that by the time the roadmap is fully implemented, we will have a system that is on quote and unquote autopilot, that we won't have to start to how do we get electricity to power our laboratory? How do we get reagents? So that's not the kind of university. So we are hoping that by the time this roadmap is implemented, all these things will have been left. And it's important for us to appreciate the fact that the industries must also be ready to be partners in this endeavor, because at the end of the day, whatever it is that we are learning or we are teaching our students gets into the industries, because they will be there to assist in developing products that will be useful for the community. Well, this may not be popular, but I don't think brain drain is essentially evil. It is all about how do we get engaged in it. What my view and the view of the University of Ilorin is to get a very structured approach to brain drain, in terms of people from your university will go out, interact with people outside, people from outside will come in, interact with people from inside, and at the end of the day, the system, whatever it is that we have been able to learn, will be brought. So the evil aspect of it is the fact that people go out, and when they leave the Nigerian shores as a professor, as a senior lecturer, as whatever, what is it that they are doing where they are? They are not into the normal. It is all about the Japa syndrome, not necessarily for the purpose of tapping what is good there and bringing back. That's the evil aspect of it. But it's important that you must be able to have staff exchange. For instance, most of our MOUs have staff exchange. As we speak, 2 of my staff are in Italy. 3 are in Italy with 2 students, 3 staff, 2 students, trying to, they will spend 1 semester there. And 2 staff and 3 students will come from Italy to Nigeria by next semester to come and also study what and how we do it. I was in Maiduguri last week, and of course I moved around the University of Maiduguri, and I was able to identify one of these. I was in Nile today, and also picked a few things that we can replicate in our university, and that's how it should be. So brain drain is not totally negative, but the negativity comes from what and how we go about the brain drain issue. Well, it is my hope that the renewed hope agenda, as far as education is concerned, will look at education as a critical game changer for the Nigerian development. And therefore, we should put appropriate funding. We should also put appropriate mechanism for the sector to be driven appropriately, instead of this some people will sit down somewhere and say you must do this, you must do that. No, a university should operate in an autonomous manner, because every university is unique in its own way. You must have some niche areas which you have to contribute to the development of the system.